A very good morning, Team Zimbabwe, Africa, and beyond. And this morning, we want to take a look onto this question. Will SADC resolve Zimbabwe's crisis without fail? In my view, yes, SADC will resolve Zimbabwe's crisis without fail. And I'm going to explain and show you how they're going to do it. We have talked about this matter for several days now. But here we need to explore further. There is a tweet which I want to bring here before we go forward. This is from a ZANU-PF supporter, John Zimsara. He is the leader of Varakashi on social media. So he says, next year, 2024, SADC protocol will require Chamisa to go to the SADC chairman, President Idi Mnangagwa, to get SADC official audience. Is that true? It is not true. An aggrieved party cannot go to the accused to find a lasting solution. SADC is not Zimbabwe. SADC is not the judiciary in Zimbabwe, where the accused presides over the matters he is being accused of. It's a different ball, or it's a different game altogether. In 2015, or somewhere there was a crisis in the country called Lesotho. There was a coalition government which was put in place, or which was functional in the country of Lesotho, but problems started to emanate because of the ruling party or the powerful government officials who didn't want things to flow according to the agreements. So what happened is that SADC was called in to contain a situation. And the question was asked, can SADC facilitate a sustainable solution to Lesotho's crisis? Jacob Zuma was the president during that period of time. And what happened is that he deployed Cyril Ramaphosa. And Cyril Ramaphosa went to, first of all, he deployed the defense minister, Nosiviwe Mapisa Nkakula, and also foreign ministers from Namibia and Zimbabwe who looked into the matters. And a report was given. After that report was given, Jacob Zuma then dispatched the Cyril Ramaphosa to Lesotho. All the parties involved were forced onto the table and they had to talk. They tried by all means to contain the situation. They tried by all means to deal with this situation. What were the results? The country of Lesotho, to a certain extent, managed to resolve the crisis they had then. What happened in 2022 is that an election was held in Lesotho after the resolution of the crisis by SADC. An election was conducted in 2022 and the opposition won. This is a clear indication of how SADC can resolve the crisis in Zimbabwe and bring normalcy to the nation of Zimbabwe. In 2022, here is the report. President Nelson Chamisa was actually invited and was among hundreds of dignitaries which attended Lesotho's new prime minister's inauguration. So the new incoming prime minister was then Sam Matekane, who ended the reign of Obasoto Convention, ABC, and the Democratic Congress, which were dominating the politics of the kingdom since 2012. A 6-month-old party managed to grab 56 out of 120 parliamentary seats, 5 seats short of an absolute majority. So you will see that no matter the differences, no matter the challenges, no matter the problems in Lesotho, SADC managed to offer a sustainable solution to Lesotho, and the opposition was ushered in at last. A 6-month-old opposition political party won 56 of 120 parliamentary seats. So you will agree that the intervention by SADC in Zimbabwe, number one, it is going to cause ZANU-PF to actually start negotiating. Because remember, the goal of Advocate Nelson Chamisa, number one, he is calling for fresh elections. But not only that, he is calling, number one, for dialogue to happen. So elections cannot happen in this current situation. So he is calling for dialogue. So you will be told by ZANU-PF people that elections are done and dusted. We are not going to accept anything new. Okay, let's agree on that. Nelson Chamisa is going to force SADC to come to Zimbabwe to promote dialogue. And once dialogue happens between Nelson Chamisa and President Emmerson Mnangagwa, what will be the foundation? The foundation will be the crisis caused by elections rejected by the opposition and the election observers and the international community, the entire international community, and the general populace. So you will see that if you take a look on the political parties who participated in this election, we have seen Uza president issuing a statement discrediting these elections. Dagi, even though he has been a puppet of ZANU-PF, discredited these elections too. We have seen people like Xavier Kasukwere, who was an independent candidate, was removed from the ballot paper. He also added his own voice. So you will see that all which is happening, it has given SADC a good ground, a fertile ground to actually come and ask for talks, which means no matter the situation, ZANU-PF is going to be forced to go onto the negotiating table. What is going to be negotiated is a conducive environment for free, fair, credible elections to happen in Zimbabwe. That will be the first point, which means ZANU-PF, whatever way, cannot run away from this issue. Yes, they will try to point out sovereignty issues, they will try to point out political independence, but they will not run away from the rules and regulations, the principles and the guidelines which are already governing the SADC region, which have been implemented in various countries. There was once a crisis in Zimbabwe, SADC came. There was a crisis in Madagascar, SADC chipped in and resolved that crisis. So SADC has managed to resolve different crises in different countries. But in the past, we only had the problems of incumbents getting advantage over those in the opposition. But the bottom line is ZANU-PF is not going to stand to reject SADC's intervention to cause dialogue. That dialogue is going to set precedents onto the next election, because we will have to talk, we will have to agree on how to conduct free, fair, credible elections in Zimbabwe, and that will enable everybody to sit around, everybody to put in place measures which are going to stop any election fraud in the future. So, honestly speaking, in my view, SADC can resolve the crisis in Zimbabwe, and SADC will be able to actually come and deal with the political crisis we have in Zimbabwe. So the insinuation by ZANU-PF that Mnangagwa is the next chair of SADC, so he will not tolerate Nelson Chamisa, that is false. Remember, SADC is guided by everything. Remember, there is an organ called which deals with politics and defense. And once that organ has discredited the government in Zimbabwe, SADC cannot accept the chairmanship of Zimbabwe up until the crisis is resolved. An election which has been rejected by the opposition, an election which has been rejected by international observers, does not produce a legitimate government. So, one way or the other, there is no way SADC is going to allow President Emmerson Mnangagwa to resume the role of the chairmanship of SADC without resolving the crisis back home. Because how is he going to handle SADC matters when he can't even handle his own matters at home? That will be the question. Which means right now, we stand to see something happening. We stand to see SADC starting to move things in Zimbabwe. SADC starting to force dialogue to happen between President Emmerson Mnangagwa and the opposition. And that dialogue will be focusing on making sure that a conducive environment, a fertile ground, is negotiated to allow free, fair, credible election, and the provisions will be put in place. So you will see that options will also include a transitional government being put in place to allow that. So you will see that one way or the other, President Mnangagwa will not evade from this, because you will see proposals coming in to say, let us have a transitional government so that these issues are resolved for once and for all. And remember, Mnangagwa is already in his second term, which means him not being trusted within ZANU-PF, he will be out, and we will have new faces contesting, and we will have the crisis in Zimbabwe resolved and once and for all. So this is it, Team Zimbabwe. These are my views. We are trying to solve this problem, and we are trying to find a viable solution. The reason why we are doing this is to stop ZANU-PF from lying, because they've been lying to the people of Zimbabwe to say, hapana zvichaitika. They've been running propaganda each and every day to try and paint a picture where they say SADC will not do anything. That is not true. SADC will intervene, and SADC will force dialogue to happen. So you will see that President Nelson Chamisa has managed to put a stop to this madness by simply being strategic. So he is calling for fresh elections, but before fresh elections, he is calling for dialogue, which means there is no way President Emmerson Mnangagwa is going to refuse to have dialogue so that the opposition and the ruling party talks about this just ended election, which is not an election. So let us meet in other episodes and other broadcasts.